Shabbat Shalom. This is Parashah number 34, B'Midbar, new book today, Book of Numbers, in the desert, 1:1 through 4:20. And we begin with an interpretation from the Zohar, that the creation itself had not been truly completed until Israel was led out of Egypt, given the Torah, and built the tabernacle. And then this having been done, according to the Zohar, Yahweh determined to take a census of the congregation of Israel to muster the forces of the Torah and the tabernacle. Now, it will behoove us to compare this interpretation to Genesis and the 6 days of creation narrative to determine what is true and what is opinion or speculation. Unfortunately, many people read these extra biblical books and place everything they have on it. Personally, I believe the Genesis account. That's where I go. All right? It's nice to speculate, but I believe creation was completed as God said in the book of Genesis, 6 days. The Torah tells us that the census began on the first day of the second month, and this is significant. It is significant to know how the calendar works, even though it is not accurate anymore by any way, shape, or form. It's off by at least 52 years. So we can speculate that when the end time comes, it's going to be sooner than we think. According to the book of Revelation, the tree of life bears 12 fruits, which corresponds to the 12 months of the Hebrew calendar. A similar tradition exists in Rabbinic Judaism, which maintains that the 12 diagonal paths on the tree of life diagram correspond to the 12 Hebrew letters known as doubles, and to the 12 months of the Hebrew calendar, the 12 signs in the heavens, and the 12 tribes of Israel. You would know more about this diagram, the tree of life, if you study Kabbalah. So let's look at another Kabbalistic concept. This interpretation is considered the sud, not sod, it's sud, or the hidden meaning of the Pardes format of biblical study. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. This is where we go from literal to secret or hidden. That's the way the Torah is written. You don't just read it through and say you've read it and understand it, because we'll never understand it all. But as you continue to study and grow spiritually, God takes you another level deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's what this Pardes is about. The second month corresponds to the letter Vav, the sign of Shor, the sign of Taurus, the tribe of Joseph, and the path from understanding to Kidder, the crown, which binds the Father and Son of Yah, Yeshua, together. That's the sign of the twins, is Yahweh Yeshua, is Gemini. I was born under the sign of Gemini, and people say it's because I have a split personality. Not so. But Gemini is the Yahweh Yeshua. In the Chabad presentation, or perspective, every intellectual process must incorporate 3 faculties: Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at. Chokhmah means wisdom. It's the mind's ability to come up with a new insight into a concept that you didn't know before. Bina is understanding. This is the mind's ability to take a new insight from that wisdom, Chokhmah, analyze its implications, and simplify the concept so you understand it. And then Da'at, which is knowledge. This is the third stage. It's the mind's ability to focus and hold its attention on wisdom and understanding. This takes discipline. It takes prayer. It takes wisdom from above. And when these things come together, there is nothing like it. When you experience that and you have that aha moment, as they call it today, there's just nothing like it. You finally get it. If we take the statement from our Parashah, this census beginning on the first day of the second month, and the tree of life produces 12 fruits, and in every month gave its fruits, we may deduce that Yahweh chose to muster the forces of the Torah on the month that corresponds with the letter Vav, the sign of Taurus and the tribe of Joseph. The letter Vav was originally a pictograph of a nail. Yud He Vav He, hand behold, nail behold. Okay, nail. This reminds us of the Messiah who was pierced through his wrists and feet by nails. Also, according to the rabbinic tradition, the three different letters that appear in the name of Yahweh, Yud, He, and Vav, represent the three pillars of the Godhead. The Vav representing the Son of Yah, or Yeshua. The Vav in the middle of the word or is a Hebrew word for light, and in Hebrew it's spelled Aleph, Vav, and Resh, represents the middle pillar of the Godhead, the Son of Yah, Yeshua, who is between the Aleph, which stands for Abba, or Father, and the Resh, which stands for the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Spirit. It fits beautifully. You have the three pillars of the Godhead with Yeshua in the middle. The Father on one side, the Ruach on the other. The sign of Shor, or Taurus, was understood by the ancient Hebrews to symbolize the atonement of Israel and the nations, and to point to the offering of the 70 bullocks. The patriarch Joseph represents the suffering servant, Messiah Yeshua, often called Messiah ben Yosef. Because like Joseph the patriarch, he was cast into a pit, sold by his own for silver, and rose out of the pit and redeemed his brothers. This entire narrative or teaching illustrates that there's nothing insignificant in God's Torah, and that there is great symbolism in the fact that Yahweh chose the first day of the second month to bear fruit of mustering the forces of Torah. There are, of course, other times that Bnei Yisrael was counted. First time was the incident of the golden calf. And it appears again in Parashah Pinchas, where they were counted after the plague. In the prophets, we read the narrative where David decides to take a census of the nation, but his motivation, as I talked about with operant conditioning, was not God-centered. The nation was punished, and the plague killed many in the camp because of his lack of God-centeredness. You see how people can be harmed when we have the wrong motivation and do something? It's better just not to do it. This should lead us to ask whether taking a census is a good idea or not. Rashi comments on our parasha in 1:1 that God counts us many times in order to show his love. According to this perspective, counting is definitely a positive thing. The commentator Sforno maintains that taking such a census of each person highlights individuality. No two people are alike. Every one of us has a specific job God has purposed us to do that we may glorify him. And that's in Romans 8:28 and Psalms 24. That's why it's so sad when somebody takes their own life, because that piece of the puzzle is now gone. And somebody else will have to do that job. But nobody else may have been able to do that job better than that person. We've got to get over our self-centeredness and look up and remember who we are, whose we are, and why we're here. All the individuals combined form a nation, where everyone uses his or her individual talents, knowledge, and skills for the benefit of the nation, as the entire nation seeks to bless the nations and glorify God, just like here. I go over this over and over again because it's remarkable. It's good to see the things that are happening here in the synagogue. Talents of all sorts coming together. Recording, cooking, providing, computer, building stuff. I don't know what else you call it. Construction-y stuff. Carpentry skills. Masonry skills, all of those things coming together for the good of the community. That's important. Everyone is contributing something, whether you know it or not. Conversely, there are negative ramifications with taking a census of Bnei Yisrael. First, Bnei Yisrael's true believers, that's what we're talking about here, strength is not like the strength of other nations. God continually tells us through the Torah, you are not like the other nations. You're not like other people. You are separated, called out, set apart as a treasured people for me. Now act like it. We are called and chosen and set apart to set an example for everybody, not to go around with a banner, da 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 da, look at me, I'm the chosen one. It's not like that. That's an animalistic, soulish response. The strength of other nations is in their numbers. On the other hand, Bnei Yisrael's influence on the nation or world is not in our numbers. It wasn't then, it's not now. It's because we're the only nation chosen by God to fulfill His commandments. Bless the nations, carry it forward, teach people about me. We're to be an example. We're to lead the way, showing others how God blesses those who love and follow Him, and the curses that will ultimately result either temporally or in the next world for those who rebel against Him and His Torah. That's why it's so sad to see all of these places that are so crowded on the weekend nights, Shabbat nights, instead of being in Shabbat in synagogue or somewhere, or even in the home celebrating Shabbat. And the world goes on and on as if nothing's happening. Just like God said it would. You want a testimony for the truth of Torah? Just look around. It doesn't matter how many true believers there are in Bnei Yisrael. And as Peter said a while ago, it's a remnant. What matters is how we conduct ourselves. Quality and not quantity is the order of the day and every day. Another important concept is that true believers, Bnei Yisrael, do not consider themselves as an army of one. We have individual talents, skills, and knowledge that is to be used individually, but as a collective attitude, the community of Israel. And you see that throughout Torah. It is spoken of as a community. Bnei Israel as a people, not Joe and Sam and Bob and Susan. Therefore, we can now understand the potential for positive and negative in counting Bnei Yisrael. This is why Moshe counted only when Yahweh ordered a census to be taken. David, on the other hand, he had a personal agenda. His motives were not in line with God's, and the result was a plague on the nation. From this, we must come to an internalized understanding. Not just yeah. Internalize it and know it. That man cannot presume to second guess God. We can't. If we follow God's Torah and love Him with all of our souls, hearts, and minds, He will reveal His will for our individual lives and subsequently provide opportunities and guidance through the Ruach HaKodesh, who was given on Shavuot, by the way. It wasn't the birth of the church. The Torah was given to us. That's what the grass is on the ground there. That's representative or reminiscent of when the people walked up to get the Torah, went to meet God and get the Torah. And then Shavuot again, the Ruach HaKodesh was given to show us how to live it with our attitudes, with our minds, our motivations. How to suppress that animal drive that is so strong in us. Oh, I'm so tired, I'd rather just not go today. That's an animal instinctive, I would rather sleep type thing. Or looking at your clock every 5 minutes, your watch. When's this going to be over? Believe me, if you were in Orthodox Judaism, you'd be sitting here for 3 hours. Easy. So this is what the Ruach HaKodesh was given, to guide us and to show us how to do things and how to change our motivation and our hearts so that we can be fused as part of the body of Bnei Yisrael for God's ultimate glory. Our Brit Kadeshah is in Hosea. Our Parashah addresses counting Israel in the desert. In the Haftarah, Hosea speaks of the future redemption, beginning by stating, Bnei Yisrael will be as numerous as the sand on the seashore, which is so plentiful it cannot be measured. The Torah and the Haftarah section show that numeric greatness is also part of Bnei Yisrael's legacy. And this is possible because of the 2 sticks that will be joined together described in Ezekiel. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. Our Brit Kadeshah is in 1 Corinthians. The verses in this chapter teach us that true believers have an organismic unity like that of the human body. It's so fantastic and awesome when you look at the Torah and start studying human anatomy and function. You see Torah in the human body. We are parts of a whole. the sum of which is greater than any individual part. Just like Paul says, we're all parts of the body and each part is needed. You cut the finger off, what's it going to do? It's just going to lay there. It's no good. I don't care how pretty, how long it was, what kind of nails it had, anything. It doesn't matter if it's disconnected. So it is with us. If you have all the talents and money in the world, if you're disconnected from God, you are not useful. The body we're speaking of in this context is this of the Messiah here. I encourage exploration of the following verses for more information, and I gave them to you. Romans 12:5, Ephesians 1:23, 2:16, and 4 through 16. Therefore, all members of the Messiah's body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, have their places determined by God and have appropriate functions. We said this before, which they should find and develop, trusting God for empowerment by the Ruach HaKodesh. And this is done through diligent prayer, seeking, asking, and knocking. We should appreciate other people's talents, ministries, and gifts. I can't blow a shofar like Glinda. I can't do construction stuff like Jim. I can't do computer stuff like Robert and Mark. You know, each of you can do something that I can't do. I wouldn't have the patience with little ones like Rajlan. You know, it's amazing to be able to do those things. Yes, you all have things that I can't do, and I can do some things that you can't do. But that's the way it's supposed to be, and we shouldn't envy each other. We should appreciate what each other has. The purpose of the gifts, skills, and knowledge is not self-aggrandizement. Rather, they are for building up the whole body in love. And expounding on verse 28, God determined several distinct ministries, including emissaries, prophets, and teachers. Not everyone is cut out to be a teacher. A lot of people want to be a teacher because they think it's a prestigious position to stand, 4 inches higher than everybody else, maybe? I don't know what this little thing is here. But it's not. It's a huge responsibility, as is the things that you guys do. You're held to accountability for the things that you do. Then he mentions those who work miracles and those with gifts of healing. Listed next are those with the ability to help those in need and the skill of administration. But exercise of those gifts would be manifestly improved if one had the charismatic qualities that are not mentioned in this passage. You could be the best teacher in the world, but if you're some kind of Mr. Partly Cloudy Day all the time, forget it. Nobody's going to listen. Or if you come in and teach or do something or say something and your demeanor and your appearance is complete opposite, nobody's going to take you seriously. Now these other gifts that aren't mentioned are wisdom, knowledge, faith, and discernment of spirits. These are extremely important. At the end of this list are the 2 showy charismata that are most easily abused: speaking in different kinds of tongues and interpretation. We must remember that those who exercise the gift of tongues spoke in recognizable languages. It wasn't this crazy chicken flying out of the coop stuff that you see in a lot of these churches. It just isn't. At the same time Shaul addressed with abuses involved in manifesting the gift of tongues, he instructs the Corinthians not to forbid speaking in tongues, known languages, and wishes that all would speak using this gift. I would love to be able to break into any language that I needed to at the time. I would love to be able to go to Miami or go to Tarpon Springs and just whip it out in Greek. But I can't. By the way, this gift is not meant for today based on the Torah. Shaul was speaking to first century audience. Later in Scripture we're told in 1 Corinthians 13:8 that charity never faileth, but whether knowledge it shall vanish away. 1 Corinthians 13:9 says, this is huge for you to understand. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. 1 Corinthians 13:10. But when that which is perfect comes, or that which is perfect is come, and I wrote down the Greek, If you go to a lexicon, I've written this all out for you. It means completeness, full of age. And it says, when that is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. The word perfect is not Yeshua. It is neuter in Greek. So it doesn't refer to a man or a woman. It refers to an object. That object is Torah, the complete Torah, the Old Testament and the Brit Chadashah, which is given as Torah as described in the Brit Chadashah itself. So people can't say with any correctness, validity, or reliability that when Jesus came, all the stuff was done away with. No. Well, if when Jesus came, things were done away with, why are they still speaking in tongues? It can therefore be interpreted as referring to the Torah, which was completed by the addition of the Brit Chadashah that was given as Torah. That's in Hebrews 8:6, by the way. And I hope that we can come to understand and integrate this knowledge so that when people come from different faiths to you and throw this at your face and say, that's Jesus, no, it's not. It is the Torah. When that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away with. So we need to integrate this into our hearts and minds so that we actually know it and not just parrot it back because somebody said it. May we come to understand this truth and not fall into the misunderstanding of those who think, teach, and believe that this is referring to Yeshua coming to earth and abolishing God's Torah with his appearance. God forbid, says even Shaul in Romans 3:31 and Matthew 5:17. Shabbat Shalom.